Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is SamElliot64, and I am joined alongside.
And it's 9132, the Robot Wars Guru.
And welcome to the RoboCast. We are joined by a special guest for episode number 13 of BattleBots 2018. Introduce yourself, sir.
Edward Robinson, otherwise known as Captain Phoenix Blaze.
Ed Robinson, of course, behind the monster shark that is Sharkoprion. I have to say, as a design, it looks pretty crazy, but but it works. Like, this season so far, not spoiling anything too much. You've gone 2-1, which is kind of crazy, really, when you think about it.
2-1 with a double knockout.
Yeah, who would have said that at the start of the season? Like, looking at it.
My first rumble against two other robots, I knocked them both the heck out.
Absolutely, it certainly seems like well, we'll get into your fight with Gemini in just a second, but like it seems to, certainly, I know we discussed this a little bit before we actually started recording this, but like you've got a machine that it might look a bit, artsy and a bit, flimsy, but it's really not, and it's actually got quite a lot of potent firepower behind that spinner.
Well, I used the motors for the weapon came off Ultimo Destructo's original super heavyweight.
Oh, really?
That's the weapon motors. Yep, they came out of Ultimo Destructo, the old BattleBot super heavyweight from the Comedy Central days.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Everything in that bot is used, man.
I think again I think you might have mentioned on the show that a lot of it's recycled parts. You don't need to spend upwards of $20,000-$30,000, which a lot of teams do, to make
No,
a competitive machine.
not at all. We did the math. We spent probably around $5,000 on parts, and it was a 5-week build.
That's crazy.
That just shows you kind of the change though between then and now, because back in the day, a cheap build was, let's say anything under 500 quid, and now you're saying, this is a cheap build and it's $5,000.
Right.
That just shows you how much things have advanced over the years, especially.
Snookums was about $1,500.
There you
Yeah,
go.
so that's about what, 700-800 UK British pounds sterling,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, around around that
So,
kind
yeah.
of ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because obviously you've been around for a hell of a long time. Obviously, you had Snookums back in Robot Wars Extreme Warriors in the US, which was kind of similar in the sense that they were both fish to Sharkoprion, but like obviously worlds apart in terms of technology.
Yeah, Snookums was a swordfish, and Robot Wars allowed entanglement. So the whole tail was designed, it held a bunch of fishing line, plastic hose, and elastic. And every time I'd catch a spinner, it would just suck it all up and stop the spinner dead. It worked beautifully.
Oh, so that was actually the intention, like, because that's pretty interesting actually.
Yeah, it was the entire intention of that. That's why it had that gold aluminum rib cage inside it and everything. It was supposed to get ripped off and sucked up by spinners. Kind of like the tail I have now. My tail is an anti-spinner defense.
That's genius. It's honestly genius. See, underneath the charade of like the kind of practical thing, there is an actual genius underneath there. There really is.
Not enough robots have defense, except for armor. I think an active defense is a little more fun.
Absolutely, and we'll get on to your fight with Gemini actually while we're here. I was obviously on the Science Channel for episode 12, but we'll include it in this episode because obviously the way that it airs is kind of kind of interesting. The fight itself, you took a lot of hits from Gemini. Those two spinners, they seem to pack quite a bit of a punch on the.
Oh man, they ate me up. They did a lot of serious damage. There is no joke about those little spinner boys.
But you seem to handle it quite well, and obviously, in the end, you got another KO, which is kind of crazy. Talk us through the fight from your perspective.
The fight is funny because the way the shark is built, the tail is supposed to knock out a spinner, take away the energy, and then I can flip around and hit him with the weapon. That's the whole design. Which it kind of worked the first couple times, but I'm just learning it. I'm just figuring out how to use the robot. And about a minute and a half into the match, my left side motor came loose from the drive hub.
Yes, because you did on one side, weren't you, for quite a lot of the fight. Mm-hmm.
A minute and a half in, you can see it in my face. I try to move the shark, and John's going, "Hey, that's a good hit," and I'm going, "Oh crap! I just lost that for my robot." And for the next minute and a half, all I could do really was spin slow, spin fast, do the gyro spin, or if I went backwards, I'd go kind of in a straight line.
I mean,
So
oh.
go ahead.
I say, I mean, whatever you were doing, it really worked. You know, considering you had half a robot down for a lot of the fight, you know, winning against the spinners that you did, I think it was fairly impressive considering.
Thank you. It's designed to take a lot of abuse and not get hurt. You can pound it, you can eat huge pieces off of it. And as I was saying, there's a robot inside the robot. My armor is an inch away at least.
Absolutely, it's obviously you knock pieces off, but it will still function in theory. Obviously,
Yeah,
eventually it will get worn down, but the initial idea is take the hits and then kind of hope that it doesn't take too many, essentially.
Yeah, because you're gonna take them with this field of robots you got out there. You're gonna take some abuse. You're gonna have to shed some armor. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, considering what were your expectations going into this season? Because obviously, I'm sure essentially it is an arty bot, isn't it, Sharkoprion?
It is an art bot. At the end of the day, it is an art bot before it was a bot meant to kill other robots.
So what was your did you expect to win a fight this season? Was that your aim?
I wanted to win the nut.
I mean, go on.
Absolutely. I think anything can happen to anybody at any time in life. That's one of the glorious things about life. As long as you try, you could possibly do it. If I sat home, didn't build the robot, and didn't go, I wouldn't win the nut.
Very true.
But as an alternate, we didn't get anything. It was a pay your own way, just like the old days. We had to pay for everything. We paid for the build, we paid for the hotel, we paid for the gas, and we were just an alternate. We were never really in line for the nut this year.
So considering that, that's a hell of a performance. Considering that, then.
Thank you. We consider that was an audition. I hope we passed the audition.
I'd like to think that they at least invite you out because I think the three fights that you've had on the air at the moment, they're all good fun. I like to think,
Yeah.
You didn't disgrace yourself. You won two fights.
My bots run. They're dependable. That's one of the good things about my robots.
Yeah.
They keep on running.
Yeah, it hasn't died at all. It was a really good effort, and
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Fair play to you. So, the question is, where do you go from here? Because Sharkoprion's quite the thing, but where does the future hold?
Sharko is for sale.
Oh.
Well, now there's an end of the story here. I want to build more robots. I love building robots. I still want to keep Sharko. Obviously, I'm going to keep Sharko. But Sharko can do regional competitions and everything but BattleBots as long as it's not a televised competition. And if somebody wanted to go to BattleBots, I'd go with them. We want to keep Sharko running, but I want to keep building more robots.
Right. So
King of Bots has invited us. We want to build one for them. If I sell Sharko to someone, I use that money to build a better one.
But I mean, what's down the pipeline? What can you tell us?
Well, King of Bots invited us to come over. Mm-hmm. We designed and he was there right before this fight, actually. Karma, I guess the guy that's running it, really nice guy. And he said, whoever wins this fight with Geminis, or whoever wins this fight, you get an invitation to King of Bots.
And obviously, you won. You won.
I won. So, yeah. So as soon as everything was fine, we applied. I designed a new robot. We're hoping that goes through, and I'm going to build that one. But as far as the shark goes, we added fire. So he's now a fire breather.
what more can you add? It's a robot shark with a vertical spin and now fire. I mean, what's not to love?
Jets. Absolutely. 2 big jets, one in each side of his face. Big old fire breathers.
Brilliant. I love it. Anderson, in terms of Sharkoprion, what have been your thoughts this season?
I love it. You see a lot of people because some people like serious machines, some people only like silly machines. I'm actually quite a versatile person when it comes to robot combat. There's quite a lot of things I do like about it, and very little I don't like about it. And the fact that Sharkoprion is able to bring both funny, silly designs as well as actual a machine that can actually fight and hold up its own and cause KOs together. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And to be fair, you've definitely come a very long way from Snookums as well. No offense to Snookums, obviously, but you've come a long way from there.
Did you see Robotica Season 2?
Yes.
He was fantastic.
Yes, yes.
That was my very first Shark robot. He was a hammerhead flipper.
God,
I lost every fight.
Yes.
It's and obviously you look now and you think up 2-1 record in BattleBots this season. That ain't no joke.
Yeah, I was happy with that. Really, really happy coming out with a 2-1 record. Really happy with that.
Fantastic. Well, obviously, Ed, brilliant to see you win your final fight. But shall we crack on with episode 13 as a whole?
Yes.
Let's roll with it. So, our first fight, Red Devil and Valkyrie. Now, this was great fun. Not necessarily the fight itself, but for the one track that came off Red Devil and was. I mean, it's amazing to see that obviously Red Devil is all independently driven. That's really fascinating. But
it is.
But when the track comes off, it's just flopping around by itself. It's brilliant.
Hey, do you guys think it got a good track record?
Oh god.
Oh
man, that hurt. That did.
I'm throwing tomatoes. I'm throwing things at him.
Oh, that hurt. That hurt. That hurt.
Oh yeah, I'm back, baby.
With that said,
I love that whole idea of binding two receivers to the same transmitter. That's just genius.
It is clever, and obviously, because of the way that Red Devil works, it kind of rolls around quite a lot. Obviously, the chassis all moves around an axle, which I think, that's really clever way of just staying mobile all the time. There's no way you can really eliminate it by turning it over.
It's essentially like, obviously the Master, and there was also Stinger and Robo Wars, but this is like, on a whole other level of that design. It took that design, which in itself was brilliant, and it's just
Master.
revitalized it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's taken it to to another level, and obviously it's a beautiful machine, and seeing Valkyrie kind of tear into it was kind of a bit sad for me, because obviously Red Devil is an absolutely gorgeous machine.
Oh, it is.
The level of engineering in that is unparalleled, really. But it's
fair play to Valkyrie though. At the same time, I mean, they did do damage, and they definitely deserve the win here.
I love the undercutter. I just love that thing. Come right through and just ate him, cleaned him right up, just knocked him in half, said, I'm going to test the power of flex tape.
It is a really nice design. Obviously, one thing I noticed as well, when Red Devil still had full mobility, went to the back of Valkyrie as well, and it got hit through the back, because the way it's angled.
That is genius, again, because a lot of spinners don't have back protection.
Yeah.
But they've managed to work around that. So fair play to them.
Yeah, Leanne Cushing has done a really nice job with the way that it's, that kind of setup has worked. In terms of the result itself, Red Devils, I think it's now is it 2-2? Is it 1-3? I think it's 1-3, isn't it?
I think it's 1-3.
Yeah, 1-3. Yeah,
it's 1-3. It's looking unlikely that they're going to get into the bracket, which is a bit of a shame, because obviously last season they did a really good job, and knocked out Witch Doctor and all those fantastic results.
Right.
Don't think we're going to see it in the last 16, which is a bit of a shame, but I think still a solid season considering who they fought.
Right.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a tough field of robots this year. A really tough field of robots out there.
Yeah, and considering it's essentially kind of the same concept of design, there's not much in terms of improvement from the last one. You kind of see how the field has moved forward in those 2 years. It's kind of crazy how a decent machine from last time is kind of like a mediocre one now.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. As for Valkyrie, though, I think they're at 3-2 because obviously they participated in the Desperado tournament, and they're kind of their results are a little bit skewed. But this, a win's a win, and they're still looking decent enough. I reckon they could, they think they've got another fight of their 4, so they might be able to sneak into that last 16 if they're lucky.
And that was a beautiful win, and that really counts.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really nice way to take out Red Devil. Obviously, taking a good slice out of its scoop as well, which has been pretty resilient up to this point. Anything more to add to that fight? I don't think there was much else, was there?
Zombie bots rule!
Can we
just
see
all around? Great fun. 2 very well made machines, very well designed machines, going at it, balls to the wall, just brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And very good driving from both teams as well. You know me. I think driving is one of the most underrated things in robot combat. Nobody gives enough praise to good driving. I mean, considering
I drive every day. I drive every day if I can.
That's obviously a good way to keep it. Because I was considering it had half a robot missing, Ravi did a fantastic job to keep Red Devil in the fight.
Fantastic job.
Considering he had half a robot essentially, that was a great performance. I was, the way it was driven was really well done. With that said, Valkyrie getting the big win there against Red Devil. Red Devil
Hey, Valkyrie.
probably won't see any more Red Devil this season, but you never know. Hopefully we will do. Our next fight saw Brutus and Gigabyte, two machines that started well. Brutus started well and kind of petered off, and Gigabyte started poorly and has kind of got a bit better, but has been a bit unlucky. This fight, great tactics from Brutus initially. Great tactics, taking all those hits, deflecting Gigabyte away, getting some great air time. Obviously, Gigabyte eventually losing power in its weapon. So you're thinking, okay, and then Brutus starts up. You're thinking, okay, then Brutus is now going to win, and then
Oh, God.
I have no idea how it. I'm assuming the only thing I can assume it was is it got caught on a funny angle and then it gyroed itself over. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the expression "snatching defeat from the jaws of victory"?
Yes, that is a very
exactly
apt.
what happened to that poor robot.
An apt phrase at this point. Brutus. We've said it a number of times. It's not the most inspiring of machines. It is literally, a wedge with a spinner, and that's it. But I have to say, super unlucky here. Like that.
Oh, very unlucky.
It had the as Ed rightly said. He definitely grabbed defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
With that said, though, good fight again.
What a great fight.
Yeah.
I mean, he dominated that fight. He was driving it. He was owning it. He put Gigabyte down. Everybody knew it was over.
And it was. It was over. It was over, but not the way we expected it. It's nice to see Gigabyte get a win. I have to say that much. Because Gigabyte
all
been,
the others were a great fight.
yeah, Gigabyte have been super unlucky this season, and the fact that they still haven't won an actual fight yet. They won it in the first round of the tournament, but they didn't win anything up to that point. I don't think.
Right.
So yeah, it's just kind of very unlucky that Gigabyte have been left in this awkward position, but they've got a win. Probably a bit fortunate that they did get a win, but I think their bad luck had to turn eventually, right?
Yay!
Anderson, anything to add?
I just feel really bad for Brutus. Because they had great tactics as well. Keep the spinner low, whack into it until it breaks theirs, and then get their spin up to speed and try and get those important knock it over, and they knock themselves over. Pillocks. But no, in all honesty, it is a shame. But fair play to Gigabyte. They finally got a win. So yeah, fair play to the Google Chrome logo. It was nice to see them get a win.
It's true. It's true.
I gotta be nice. Now, John's a neighbor. He only lives like 10 miles away, so I gotta be nice.
No.
I can't say how funny it is when that bot spins up. I just love those colors.
It looks trippy as hell, doesn't it? It's great.
It's like a bad acid trip from the 70s.
Oh, fantastic. We'll move on. We'll move on to our next fight, which is a tale of two very, very drastically distant seasons. Bombshell has had probably, arguably, the toughest run of anyone so far. 0-3. I know that it's. We've commented a lot of times before. It was a rushed build. It didn't really get time to be tested, and Mike's had a really tough time getting Bombshell going. On the contrary, Bite Force has just been fairly unparalleled. Obviously, you've got a vertical spinner, Ed.
Yes.
How much of another level is Bite Force compared to, say, Sharkoprion?
Bite Force has a different type of spinner than I do. He's got basically a one-hit tooth. That's the eccentric.
Yeah.
I have 2 hits. I like 2 hits because it's a little more of a cutting. It's not quite a saw, but it's more of a cut.
Right.
Bite Force has that solid thunk hit one time every time around, so it's basically twice the power.
That's...
I mean, that thing, when it's 1 hit per revolution where I get 2. So right. Then when that thing hits you, you by goodness know it.
And obviously they changed their I think we mentioned it way back at the start of the season. They had 2 motor setups. They had the E-Tech and they had the 4 mag motors. They changed the 4 mag motors, and my god, my god.
Redundancy is awesome. I'm going to, with the one we've designed for Gigabytes, we designed it with multiple weapon motors because I think redundancy is awesome, and 3 smaller motors actually give you more power than 1 big one for the weight and the space and the battery power you need to run them.
Well, considering as well, if one of them dies, you've still got two more. For example,
Exactly.
Bite Force still has three.
If one belt flies off, you still got two more fan belts running.
I remember speaking to Craig from the Bristol Bot Builders and Team Snappy. He had a robot called Neutron back in the day, a couple of years ago, and he had one mag motor on his on their vertical spinner on that thing, and that was pretty hefty. Considering that, one mag motor is all you need to do something a bit of juice. Bite Force has 4. you get the idea. This fight wasn't really a fight. It was pretty much bullying, wasn't it? Really, I think that's. Bombshell didn't know what hit it, and out of the arena from a spinner in BattleBots. Who would have said that at the start of the season?
Every Bite Force lined them up beautifully and just did the job. It went to work and went boop, bye bye.
Yeah, absolutely. It was brutal. Bite Force.
Yep.
Clinical, I think, is the only way I can describe it. It was a great performance.
Beautifully done.
Yeah, 4-0 for Bite Force. Fairly certain that's in the bracket. 90%, 99.999% sure. Unless there's a very strange person, deciding the bracket, that's going to be there. Bombshell, 0-4. My heart bleeds. It really does. But it's just, it's such a shame. I will always wonder what if there's a bit more time and he could have properly refined this machine, because I think there's potential there.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But
I got a funny story. Back in BattleBots Comedy Central days, I think it was 3 or 4, one of my first ones, he came up to me and he was a kid in line and I was walking in to fight with my robot and I talked to him for like a half an hour.
Oh, no way.
And that when he was a little kid and he came up and he told me that story here at BattleBots. And I was like, oh, that dude, that's cool, inspiring, yay. And then he lost every fight. And I felt so bad because I was feeling so good for him and so happy, and then he lost.
Well, you look at his opponents. In fairness to Bombshell, Lockjaw, no disgrace there. Lockjaw's obviously made it into the
tier.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lockjaw's fantastic. Bronco, another fantastic machine. Yeti, brilliant, and obviously Bite Force. It's a tough run.
All 5 of them, all top tier bots, every one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no disgrace. Bombshell going 4 to those kind of machines, but when you look at you look at the numbers and it looks awful. But considering their actual opponents, it's nowhere near as bad.
Nope. That's what happens when you make it to the semifinals and you get put into the top tier. You have to fight all those top tier robots.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. Anderson, anything more to add? I don't think there really is there?
I've said it before and I will say it again. Bite Force is fucking daft. It is absolutely ridiculous. That thing is so silly. Honestly, you could turn around and tell me that there was a unicorn selling ice cream outside, and I would believe it more than the power of that thing's weapon. It is ridiculous. And you know what? I'm going to say it now. If there is a robot that can beat Tombstone this season, it is Bite Force. Whiplash came close, but I think if Bite Force goes up against Tombstone, I couldn't tell you who would win that one. Honestly, that's how good Bite Force is this series.
Well, if you think about it, Bite Force is currently, on BattleBots at least, the only one that's actually beaten Tombstone.
Yes, it is.
So far.
Well, what I can
say until Duck beats it. Then Duck will win, obviously. But,
yeah. All I can say from when I was there is NDA, and the NDA with the NDA was an awesome NDA.
Those spoilers. We'll get there eventually. There's only a few more weeks, guys. We're gonna find out within the next 7 or so weeks who actually wins this thing, but still a ways away yet. We'll move on to our final undercard fight of the night, and Endgame and Son of Waiachi, two teams. Well, again, they kind of had contrasting seasons. Son of Waiachi started badly and has kind of picked up quite quickly. Endgame started fast and has gone a bit the other way. They've kind of gone off the boil a little bit. Son of Waiachi, I think was it Brutus they lost to initially? I think it was Brutus.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost to Brutus and then they destroyed Lucky and Monsoon, and then.
But Waiachi gets that thing dialed in. It is no joke, man.
It is not a joke at all, and obviously Endgame itself started off with wins against Lockjaw and who was the other one it for? can't remember. Who was the endgame? Who was the endgame fight? It's lost me. It was someone else, but they lost to Bite Force quite spectacularly, didn't they?
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
Shredder. It was Shredderator, wasn't it? That was it.
Shredderator, that was it. Yes.
Yeah, Shredderator. Again, there's not much of a fight here. I'm not gonna lie. It was one big hit, and I think that was job done. I will say Apex can say nothing about smashing the arena. You know, its bar coming off. How about the whole robot going through the wall? That's much more like it.
Did you ever see the Nightmare versus Sonowayachi fight back in BattleBots days?
Yes.
Oh, hell yes.
Yes.
That was exactly a replay of that fight. I mean, they came together and Wayashi just one hit. Bam! Okay, you're disintegrated.
It was a spectacular hit, you know.
Beautiful.
I liked the idea with Endgame's kind of obscure shaped weapon to try and give it less surface area to hit, much like Aftershock did in the UK with their matches against Carbide. But it didn't work.
Nope.
It did not work. Son of Wayachi is just an absolute unit, really. There's not much more to say.
That whole beautiful face armor inch of airplay I have, if Sonowayachi hit my face, I don't think there'd be much left of it.
Well, our other normal contributor, Steve, he had sort of Wayachi down to win last season. It obviously didn't quite work out for them that time. It's starting to build up quite a nice head of steam this time around, though. It's looking a lot more like it.
Once they get that monster dialed in, it is just it's a monster. It really is.
Yeah. I think was it £120 worth of spinner. That's nothing to be sniffed at. Yeah, Anderson, much more to add, or again, not really.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. No, yeah. I'll just honestly say this. I'm kind of upset Endgame lost, to be honest. I thought they went in with a chance, but no. What annoys me is they quite easily took the less of that hit, and they still lost.
Yeah.
God's sake. Then again, I can't be too upset because they're from New Zealand. New Zealand always beat us in rugby, so I can at least take that. But apart from that,
there's some solace there.
Your luck only holds up for so long when you're fighting robots on that level. One of them's going to hit you. Yeah, one of them's going to hit you, and something's going to come loose if you ain't got it tight.
Yeah. I mean, Endgame's now gone 2-2. They've beaten, Lockdoor and Shredderator. They lost to Bite Force and Son of Wayachi, who I'm going to assume both of those are going to be in the bracket. Endgame might sneak in still. I think it probably will do. It's it had 2 convincing wins, and the 2 defeats it had were against top tier opposition.
And very unlucky as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was unlucky against Son of Wayachi anyway. Yeah,
considering it's I think it's the first time they've built a heavyweight, I believe, because I know obviously Jack Barker's been around for a while with the smaller weight classes. Obviously, he won in China, didn't he? At Fight My Bots. But considering it's a heavyweight, it's a new heavyweight. It's done really well. We mentioned earlier this season that a lot of the new heavyweights that have come into this season have kind of struggled to get going, whereas those that have been around for a season or two seem quite dialed in. This is an example of one of those where it's a newer machine that's done quite well. I think it's fair to say that Endgame's kind of surprised everyone. Obviously,
there's a lot to be said for starting off in the smaller weight classes and working your way up in the build process.
Yes, scaling is very clearly obviously done a really big thing. Obviously if you stick with the same design through all the weight classes, you kind of get an idea of how it works.
He's a real great example of that right there.
Yeah, I think another one. I think Craig Danby mentioned it was a Sawblaze. Jameson Go's got one of the same robot in each weight class, and he's kind of he knows how the design works now essentially.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have another Science Channel exclusive fight, but that'll be reviewed next week. It's between Lucky and Reality. Should be a good fight, that one. I'm looking forward to that one. It's two machines that have been kind of unlucky this season. Which brings us to the main event. Now, the main event obviously was the first version of this fight was viral. I think it's fair to say. When I remember seeing this the first time, my jaw hit the floor.
Oh Lord!
It was incredible. Minotaur.
Beautiful.
Minotaur and Blacksmith. It was incredible. This first fight. Minotaur. I mean, it wasn't really much of a fight. Blacksmith got absolutely annihilated.
It was textbook. I'm going to eat you up.
Yeah,
Textbook.
it really was. It really was. And then,
But fair play to Blacksmith, they did not give up.
No.
Fair play to them.
no,
And not until the robot was in flames and wouldn't move anymore.
Not until
absolutely.
it spontaneously combusted.
It's well, we nearly got a repeat of that this time.
We did.
But with that said, what an amazing fight again.
Oh,
Wow.
great.
Like as much as
these two are destined to be just great together in an arena. It doesn't matter how, because they're just brilliant for one another. They bounce off each other literally perfectly.
Just chomping on each other like two big heavyweights just slugging it away.
you look at, I think Blacksmith. This is the best Blacksmith's worked all season. You know, the hammer was on all fight. You know, the fire was coming out all fight. Didn't stop working. Fantastic. Minotaur, you know, kind of a bit shaky to begin with, but it was just such a great spectacle again. You know, it was different to the first one. The first one was much more, you know, bullying from Minotaur's point of view. You know, Blacksmith never really got a chance. This time it was much more of a driving fight, so evenly matched. Obviously, eventually the damage paid off and Minotaur got the deserved win. I think, you know, everyone can agree that.
Yep.
But it was a fantastic spectacle, backward and forward. You know, the fire in there as well, brilliant stuff.
I think really every fight this episode was a great driving fight. We had some really good examples of driving.
Yeah, and you know these two guys, you know, obviously, you know, Minotaur and Tora Maximus have been like, you know, they've been renowned for their driving for years and years and years. This was a great example of Al Kindle showing what he can actually do. You know, because we've only seen Blacksmith really, you know, fight top opposition up to this point, and this fight was a fantastic spectacle. And I think there's no shame in going down to Minotaur again, but it was much closer than last time, which, you know, a lot of people are going to kind of say, do you know what? Fair play. you know, and obviously it nearly caught fire again at the end. I don't know how it nearly caught fire at the end. It didn't really have any like.
It looked like, I think he had a pinhole leak somewhere while the system was active, which can happen because low pressure on the outside. So you can have a little leak somewhere. It might have built up a little, and then a spark set it off. And then once that burned up real quick, there was nothing left.
Yeah, but it was.
That's all that was.
It was great. It was like right then. I'm thinking, oh no, not again! Surely, after all this, he's going to catch fire again. But you know, what a spectacular fight.
Or just a little ash in the pan, over under, which is right. Yeah.
Obviously, you know, you was probably watching this in the pits, Ed. What was the reaction in the pits like?
Oh, it was amazing. All builders were sitting in the pits back watching it on TV, and as soon as he caught on fire, everybody started screaming, "Not again! Not again! Oh no!" It was hilarious.
It was a fantastic fight. You know, it's probably one of the best main events of the season. It has to be said. You know, up to this point, they've kind of all been a little bit lackluster. Is it fair to say? But this one definitely wasn't. The hype was rightfully justified here.
Yes.
Anderson, anything else to add for you?
Oh, just amazing, absolutely amazing. Again, like I said, these guys always put on a show together. I don't know what it is. They're just capable. It's just like, I mean, something, you know, robots always work well together. I always said that. I mean, for example, Firestorm and Panic Attack and Robot Wars. Every time they had a fight, it was always good. And it's the same here, you know, with Blacksmith and Minotaur, you know, and yeah, I just think it's amazing. Absolutely fantastic. And probably the best main event of the series, I think. I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah.
It's up there. It's either that or Ice Wave versus Scorpios for me.
That was another great fight. It was a really good fight. That's pretty close for me as well. Can these two fight every week? That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It was just have this week it's Blacksmith and Minotaur again. No, we couldn't do that.
But, you know.
So we lost Ed briefly towards the end there. As you can tell, we just lost his call, but unfortunately,
professionalism.
Yes, one of those things. But with that said, this episode I've thoroughly enjoyed. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. Fantastic. A couple of disappointments. I would like to see an Game versus Son of White go on a bit longer, but with two huge ass spinners like that, it was basically gonna happen, wasn't it? It was inevitable almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic episode all around. I think. If anything, they're getting better and better as they go along. I mean, apart from the last one, the last couple have been a little bit iffy for me, but this one was another good one.
Yeah,
so good to see.
Back on form for sure. You know, with that said, you know, there can't be many episodes of Fight Night left. It's getting towards that stage now where the tournament bracket's starting to shape up quite nicely.
Well, they have 5 battles an episode at the moment now, don't they?
Yep.
And there's 16. There's 16 of us. So there's 8 battles there. So unless of course they go back down to 4 battles again. So you probably find they might do it. So it's 4 battles, and then you have the 2 semi-finals and the final, and the 3rd and 4th playoff maybe if they bother to do that this year.
Maybe we'll have to wait and see. But it was as Anderson and myself said, a really good episode. After a big thank you. Obviously he's not here now. He's kind of gone. Massive thank you to Ed Robinson for joining us. It's real pleasure having him on. He's great fun. And go and follow the Sharkoprion page. Go and do it. It's well worth your time. He's got some really cool stuff coming up in the pipeline. Well worth a look.
And he is a lad.
He absolutely is. With that said, I've been Sam at 64.
I'm Anderson 9132, the RoboCast guru.
And we will see you next week for the 14th episode of BattleBots 2018. Until then, bye-bye.
Ta-da.